Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode with Honorée Corder, book guru galore. How are you today, Miss Honorée?
I am excited actually.
I can guess why you're excited. What
Yeah.
happened this week? Anything significant?
Well, you know what? I launched my first book in a few years, my first solo book. I've had a few books come out, but they've all been collaborations, co-authoring, that kind of thing, and or just helping other people. So this is my first solo book project in a long time, and it feels good.
Well, the book is good. It's awesome. We've talked about it a bit in the last episode. It's called You Must Market Your Book. It's the follow on or the sequel to You Must Write a Book, right?
Yeah.
And it's the whole deal. It's the book. You have a workbook that accompanies it as well. And I was lucky enough to be on your advanced readers team, right? So if you guys are looking, what am I talking about? If you get on Amazon, we'll put a link in the chat. But this is what the book looks like, and you have chapter 2 in the book. There. Oh, is that the workbook,
No, I have the workbook.
or is that the hard?
Book and the
There.
workbook.
See.
Yeah, one is shiny, one is matte. I decided to go rogue.
Yeah. Well, the workbook. I can't wait to get that one in my hands because to me, workbooks for marketing tend to be like gold mines because you can just
Yeah.
constantly iterate in them.
Yes. Yes.
But chapter 2 is like thinking about your book from the 30,000 foot view. It's a very strategic view of your book.
Yes.
And it's broken into two parts. One is strategic thinking about your book, and then the other is the role of your book in your business. So I was hoping you could enlighten us a bit today about why those two aspects of book marketing are so important.
Sure. So, in order for me to tell you why they're important, I actually have to talk about what I see people doing
Hmm.
with their book marketing. And it's usually what everyone else is doing. And there's an element of research that I suggest that authors do, which is what is everybody else doing? Because if a lot of people are doing something and it's working, then it might be a tactic or a strategy to engage in,
Hmm.
but maybe it isn't. And so I see a lot of authors that are just kind of following what the other authors are doing without having that strategic thinking piece that's really important. Part of the strategic thinking piece is what are people doing and making a list of those things. I see people that are on Book Talk or TikTok, they're doing Instagram stories, they're doing guest blog posts for people. There's probably 100 different things that someone could do to market their book. So you want to pick the things that other people are doing. And I'm putting a little of the cart before the horse with this conversation,
Hmm.
but you can make a list of the things that people are doing. But then there's also the contrarian view, which is to say, if everybody is doing X, then maybe I should try Y and add a little blue ocean strategy in there, right? Like a lot
Hmm.
of people are hanging out in places, and if everybody's hanging out there and it's just a lot of buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, then you're not going to a place where there's no one saying buy my book. And so
Right.
not only are you the only person there, your book is then the only person there. So it's a little bit of uh, strategic thinking that I don't think a lot of authors tend to do, because I think there are a lot of people who are talking about book marketing that have either not ever written a book or they haven't written and sold books.
Right.
They're just kind of doing research and going, well, this is what everybody's doing, so go do all these things and this is your book marketing strategy. And there's really no strategy involved there. Those are just tactics, and tactics without strategy, I'm sure somebody famous has a saying about that, right? Tactics without strategy is
Yeah. It's
wishful
some.
thinking, right? It's
Yeah.
like a goal without a dream without a goal is just a wish or something like that. So I think book tactics without book strategy is failure when it comes to book marketing, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I tend to be a big fan of like the strategic thinking before you get into tactics because I think that when you
Yeah.
everything you do tactically in your business, and this is we're talking mostly about people that are publishing books that are contributing to some other area of their life, whether it's the health of their business or whatever the case is. If they're publishing fiction, it might just be to create a flourishing writing career.
Right. Right.
Um, if you fail to consider the strategy, you will engage in tactics that may not meet those drivers, those needs of your business, those needs of your writing career in a way that really resound successfully for you. And I think the people that have done it right have looked at both sides, right? They don't just focus on strategy and never do, and they don't just do and never think about strategy. You have to have that balance. That's why I love that you start the book thinking or talking about like, look, you have to engage in this activity. This book is a strategic asset.
Yes.
It's a
Well,
big
I don't want anyone to take any action without any thinking.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And I wanted people to feel empowered to stop and think for a minute, to get quiet and to think about what their strategic advantage would be, what the strategic advantage of their book would be, what the job of their book is, right? So like based on someone's job, those are the action items it should be taking in order to fulfill its purpose, but also to feel empowered, not only to know what to do and when and where and why, but also to say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like I don't want to do something is an absolutely acceptable reason for not doing something. You don't need an excuse. Like, do you want to come over? No. Do you want to tell me why? I just don't want to. I don't feel compelled to do that. And I think people sometimes twist themselves into a pretzel and say, well, I don't want to do that, but I have to do it because. And it's like, ultimately at the end of the day, you have to make yourself do something. And there's no element of enjoyment or connecting fulfillment to it. You're not going to do it for very long. You might be able to make yourself do something or make yourself not do something. I always think about fitness when I think of these types of examples, because you can be on a diet and the first three letters are die. And so it's like, you have to figure out a way to get the results that you want in a way that's sustainable for a long time. It's like saying, I'm never going to do something ever again. Like, I'm just not going to eat carbs, or I'm not going to eat sugar, or I'm not going to have any fun. It's like inside we have, children, our insides are children, and the inner child says, I am too going to have a carb. Watch me eat the whole freaking pizza. That's right. So the same thing with book marketing. If you're an introvert, maybe doing a bunch of free speaking engagements is the thing that's going to drive you batty, and you're not going to do it. You're going to procrastinate and you're going to put it aside. And then you're going to go, oh, my book only sold 250 copies. And then something's wrong with me. When in fact, what didn't happen was a connection between the type of person someone is and the book marketing strategy and tactics that they execute and can execute over the long term, because your book can be marketed forever and should be marketed forever. And so if you figure out the things that you enjoy that move the needle, you're going to do those things. So that's where strategy and tactics come into play and how I think about them. I don't just think, oh, I'm going to go do 10 things to market my business. I'm going to do, or my book, I'm going to do 10 things that market my book in a way that resonate with me personally. And I'm going to figure out which ones work that I enjoy. And I'm going to keep doing those things and let the rest go.
Gotcha. Well, I think one of the other strategies that you've put in place that I just find I love it because it's repeatable. It works. It doesn't take a lot of like debate internally or externally to make the decision to do it, is the, complementary nature of a book to other products. Like we talked about the three-legged stool quite a bit, the book, workbook, and course. And just 2 days ago, I was on Twitter and this lady said, tell me a good strategy in your business. And I said, well, I'm a course guy. Also a big fan of writing and books. This is the three-legged stool. It's all I said. And there was like several people like, oh, this is brilliant. And I'm like, guys, this is repeatable. Like, if you think it's brilliant once, imagine how powerful it can be strategically for your business. If you planned your whole year at every time you did a major product release, book, workbook, course. And I mean, it changes the way you view the entire product line. It's not like I just put out a book. You're putting out like a group of assets for your business. It supports an entire group of your customer base. And I think that at the root of it, your second point in that chapter about the role of the book in the course is at the root of all that thinking. If you don't think about your book, the role of your book in your business, sorry, I said in your course, if you don't think about the role of your book in your business, how can you think about those strategies properly? So can you talk a little bit about what it means to consider the role of the book?
Yeah, so I was just doing a training session yesterday for another book expert. And so he brought me into his cohort of authors that all had just released their books and they were looking for ways to market their books.
Mm.
And a guy said, so I have this book on this topic over here, and it was personal development. And he says, and I have this area of expertise over here. How do I use the book to put eyes on my expertise? And my answer, I said, unpopular answer, don't shoot the messenger, is you have to write a book about your area of expertise. Mm. The role of the book that he had already written was about personal and professional development, which would sell his executive and business coaching services. Mm. But this other area of expertise, which I'll just say is audio engineering. So he's like music business, entertainment business for 30 years. And so he said, I'm starting to have people, now that I have my book in audio format, come to me and say, how do I produce my audiobook? Right? Mm. What's my strategy for that? So he's like, how do I get this book to talk about this thing over here? And I said, fortunately for you, having a book makes you an expert. So it's already going to just elevate your brand. It's going to bring more business to you. It's going to put more eyes on you. And it definitely distinguishes you as an expert in the space over here. But the space over here where there is no book, you're the same guy and you do have all of this expertise and you have been able to do this. Now you need to write a second book. Gotcha. I recommend you write a book about, if you're going to produce your audiobook yourself, what are all the things you need to know about recording equipment and sound and editing and production and meeting the standards of the audio quality, and find out all the places where you can publish your book, because he knew about the big three, but I told him about a fourth one and he had never heard of them, and they're a big player in the audio space. Findaway Voices. He had not heard of Findaway Voices, and so he needed to do some technical explanation, but he needed to do some research. But if he had a book like that, I bet there are a couple, but I would imagine that book would do very well, because a lot of, you pay about $1,000 an hour or more for a finished hour of your audiobook. So I bet a lot of authors are thinking, gosh, that's yet another 4, 5, 6, 10 hours on top of, $10,000, $4,000 to $10,000 on top of the already large investment I'm making in producing my book. Maybe I could just do my audiobook myself.
Yep.
And so then how do you do it so that it's done in a professional way that is going to be in concert with the professionalism you applied to your book?
I love it.
And so when you don't understand the role of the book in your business and the job of the book, right? So now we'll talk about that. The job of the book in your business is probably one of two things, but there are several others that it could be. The first role could just be to bring more revenue to your business through royalties, book sales, those sorts of things. Or your book could be a source of creating business. So when I give away copies of You Must Write a Book, You Must Market Your Book, or when I was giving away copies of Tall Order or Vision to Reality, those were generators for other products and services that I have.
Gotcha.
So the role of the book for me is to generate business, it's to generate course sales, is to generate coaching clients, or was to generate coaching clients. So my strategy and my book marketing action plan for that was based on the role of the book, as well as my personality, as well as the time I have to invest in my book, as well as the money that I have to apply to marketing, right? And all of that is spelled out in the very beginning. And so knowing the role of the book allows you to understand and will inform and influence the actions that you could take to market your book, and also the ones that don't make any sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's so important to get all this stuff right before you start, moving into creating a marketing plan. Your next chapter is about where to start, because in the first 2 chapters, you focus specifically on getting your mind right, the way to think about it, the way to view everything, laying that groundwork, putting the glasses on with the right lenses, and then getting to work. And I think it's very powerful stuff. So I encourage everyone to tune into our next video with Honoree on this topic, where we'll talk about where to start. And then in chapter 4 after that, it's one of my favorites. It's about every successful author having a team. And I don't know how someone would do it without a team, having gone through this process just this one time with you.
Right.
I couldn't imagine trying to do all that without a team. So Honorée, thank you so much for spending the time enlightening us about strategy and the way to think about the role of our book in our business. And you guys make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? Like the video, put comments down below. We want to hear about your book marketing strategies. We want to hear about what's going on in your life, your business. Make sure you communicate with us. We'll definitely respond.
And tell us about your book.
Yes, tell us all about the book. You have put your link down there as long as it's nothing crazy.
It could be a crazy book.
It could be a crazy book.
I would like to see the books of the authors that are watching and just see what they've written, what they're writing about, what their genre is, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you have questions, put those down there too. We'd love to answer those in an upcoming episode.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Honorée.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lucas.
See you next video, guys.